Hi guys, welcome to my quick tutorial on how to do big oil. I've noticed a lot of people having trouble with big oil, and I'm not sure why, because although you need to know what you're doing, you can't just run into it like you can with most heists. Once you do know what you're doing, it's actually incredibly easy. So I'm just going to record myself just going through the first part of big oil, or the whole of big oil even, and show you what I do. So starting off on day one, first of all, basically what you're doing on day one is killing everyone on the map and then looting the place, as is the normal payday way. What I normally do first is kill everyone in the house and then work my way out to the gardens, because if you kill people in the gardens first, people in the house will notice. I've noticed that as I walk up the stairs, I normally try and kill the house from the basement upwards, just because you might as well, but I noticed that as I would walk up the stairs, behind me someone would notice me, which would mean that I would need to kill him while I was halfway up the stairs, and then the people that were on the rest of the floor would notice him, so I would have to run up the stairs and kill everyone incredibly quickly, which is very difficult. It's a lot easier to just go in the front door in that scenario. I moved that guy that was there, just double checking to see if I can see people now, work out who's in there. I moved the guy that was by the front door because there are people that are walking around outside, such as that guy who's just walked into the basement from outside, and you need to be able to keep the people out of sight as long as you can. Keep the dead bodies out of sight so they don't attract attention, which is another reason why I'm being incredibly careful not to shoot windows, because that's normally a very good giveaway that something strange is happening inside if windows are being shot. One good thing here, if people are completely unaware of you, one attack on them will instantly kill them. It can be anything, any pistol or even a melee attack, and they will instantly go down if they're completely unaware of you. Once they are aware of you, they then have the normal health pool, which, because I'm playing on death sentence, the normal health pool is quite significant. So, which is why sometimes it takes me one shot anywhere, sometimes it takes me about 3 or 4 shots. The next thing I'm trying to do, I believe at this point that I've killed everyone on the map, so I'm just trying to find the safes. Yeah, almost killed everyone on the map, there was one last guy. But yeah, I'm trying to find the safes and then start drilling into them. I'll speed it up a bit because I'm sure you know how to find safes. There's normally 2 or 3 of them on a death sentence map. It takes me ages to find the second one because I'm stupid, which is a shame because I ended up hanging around on here a bit longer than normal. In the basement there's actually 8 ATMs, which if you bring a saw you can manage to get quite a reasonable amount of money from it. Because I didn't have a saw and I've just got my 2 ECMs, I get a couple of them, but it's better than nothing. The other thing that you're trying to do on this map, inside the house there will be other things, mostly on tables, that you can pick up. You need to go around and pick as many of those up as you can, because they will all be assets for day 2. So they'll give you bonuses for day 2, like that I just picked up. They'll give you bonuses for day 2. If day 1 does end up going loud halfway through, or the people are aware of you, they will start to burn them, which is why ideally you need to do as much of it stealth as you can. The other things that you can do is that if you're very careful, you can be careful, but sometimes you'll leave body bags lying around that other people see. Like there was a guy in the basement who noticed my body bag. He'll notice it, he'll get alarmed, but he won't actually start sounding the alarm for a few seconds. And he won't start shooting because he's noticed a body bag, he hasn't noticed you. So you can then run down to wherever he is and kill him quickly. Normally as a way of making sure, once I've done what I think is kill everyone, you can then just knock out a few windows or make a loud noise, possibly use an ECM beforehand to make sure they don't sound the alarm, and then when the loud noise goes off, everyone on the map will be alerted, but if you've done your job correctly, there'll only be maybe one person, so that will let you find them very quickly, run over, kill them before they can start sounding the alarm properly and calling for the cops, and then you know that the entire map's clear. So, going on to day 2. Day 2 is the day that most people have problems with. So yeah, just picked up a keycard, which was an asset from day 1 that I managed to avoid being burned. It's very rare that there's a guy there, which is why I just ran in gung-ho and then noticed him and had to stop suddenly. What you're trying to do on day 2, first of all, is find the server room. There'll be 3 places that it can be. First thing you need to do is check that top right window on the first floor that was briefly on my screen just then. Sometimes there's, as in this case, there were some computers there, which indicates that's the server room. So because I saw that, I immediately know where the server room is, so I can ignore the other 2 potential locations and just make a beeline straight for that. What a lot of people do sometimes on this map as well is search for notes, because you will need notes to be able to complete it. A lot of people hack the server room and then go out while still in stealth and try and find notes. I don't normally bother, for reasons that I'll explain a bit later on. The only reason that I'm searching now is because I literally can't get into the server room because there were people in my way, so while I'm hanging around I might as well search. But yeah, no one else is there, found the server room, managed to hack it. This is actually the least useful server room of the 3. The other 2 server rooms, I've never had a guard notice the hack going on. This server room they do notice. They don't notice it from outside, but the door to my right, as they walk up to that door, they'll be able to see the computer and it will start to trigger an alarm for them, and then you'll have to go out and kill them. Which also means that you actually can't leave the room for this one. Because if they notice it, you need to get to them ASAP before they start calling for the cops. I'm incredibly lucky on this one in that twice a guard noticed me and I managed to kill him, answer his pager, chuck his body bag inside before another guard comes along and actually sounds the alarm or notices what I'm doing. So while this is hacking, I'm just going to take the opportunity to describe what I'm going to do next. So I'm staying in this room. I'm not bothering to search for notes because you'll be able to find them later. As soon as, yeah, this is one of the guards that I end up answering the page for and quickly trying to take him into the room. As soon as the basement is open, I'm going to go into the basement. I'm immediately going to pick up a engine that I know is right. Almost put down an ECM, which would have been bad. I'm immediately going to go into the basement, pick up an engine that I know is wrong, and then just chuck it into the corner to be ignored for the rest of the game. As soon as you pick up an engine, it triggers the ability to light a flare and summon the helicopter to extract the engine, and I'll then immediately run outside, light the flare, run back inside again. This is because the basement room door is very noticeable, and if guards walk past it, they'll sound the alarm. When you light the time between lighting the flare and the helicopter arriving is roughly 2 minutes. 2 minutes is normally, if you know what you're doing, is normally enough to work out which engine it is. So you might as well light the flare, start that 2-minute timer, and reduce the amount of time that you have to hold out against the police. What you don't want to do is spend 2 minutes finding the right engine, taking it out, lighting the flare, and then a guard noting the basement room door is open, and then you're holding out for 2 minutes on death sentence, with ever increasing difficulties of people trying to kill you, which is not fun. If you do it this way, and you have a bit of luck and everything goes well, you can manage to make it where you only have to hold out for 2 minutes, which is still long enough on that sentence. I've noticed the hack is almost finished. It had about 10 or 20 seconds or whatever it was to go, so I'm now heading down to the server room so I can be there as soon as I can, basically. Once you go into the basement. Once you go into the basement, you go down some stairs, and then directly ahead of you is a whiteboard, which will have 3 chemical elements on in 3 colours. Take note of that because that will be useful later. There's one guy in here. I don't know why I don't kill him. It's nice, really. So I've picked up an engine which I know is wrong, which is engine 10. Engine 10 is always wrong. And then I'm going out to light the flare to start that 2-minute timer. And then heading back inside to get down to the basement, hopefully, and be able to do a bit of searching before they notice me. I was just unfortunate here. There's a guard there and a guard there. You need to kill them both. You can't really kill them both. Certainly not by yourself, and still answer pages. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm searching for notes down here. Notes can spawn down here, as is that one. And you'll need notes to tell you which engine to pick up. Here I'm having a momentary panic where I can't see the ECM, so I chuck down a second one just to make sure the first one doesn't run out. I'm going to pause it quickly because I need to say a lot of things in a short amount of time. So basically, to work out which engine you need, there are 3 things you need. These little computers down here, one of them will have a... I'm going to rewind it slightly so I can show you which one. One of the computers will have a PSI value on it, which is this one. You see just above the crosshairs it says greater than or equal to 5783 PSI. The number doesn't matter, it's the greater than sign in front. It will either have a greater than or equals to or a less than or equal to. And you can basically ignore the number afterwards, but what that means is the PSI value for the engine will either be greater than or equal to 400 or less than or equal to 400. The computer will always spawn downstairs in the basement, so you'll always be able to find this and immediately know the PSI of the engine that you need to find. There are 12 engines. 2 of the engines are exactly 400, which is engine 3 and engine 10. So because the figure will be either greater than 400 or less than 400, engines which are exactly 400 will always be incorrect. Which is why I know that I can pick up engine 10, which is one of the ones which is exactly 400, and I know that I won't need that cast iron guaranteed later on. So as mentioned, there were 3 things that you need to know. The first one's the PSI. PSI will allow you to eliminate 7 of the 12 engines because 2 of them are exactly 400, and of the remaining 10, 5 are less than 400 and 5 are more than 400. So in this scenario I know it's greater than 400, so I know there are 5 possible engines. The other 2 things you need to find in notes. I noticed earlier on there was a note downstairs that in the bottom left of the note it said 2 times H. That means that there's going to be 2 hoses on the engine. The note will either say 2 times H, 3 times H, obviously 2 hoses or 3 hoses, or it will say an infinity sign and then H, which means 1 hose. Don't ask me why it's infinite, it's just 1. So you can also look at the engines. There will be a blue cylinder on all the engines. So on the engine directly straight forward in the middle, there's a big blue cylinder on the table, and you can see it's got black lines coming out of the top. Those are the hoses. Once you get a bit closer, you'll be able to see either there'll be 1 hose coming out of the top, 2, or all 3. As we mentioned earlier, because the PSI, we know there are 5 possible engines now, and you can work out very quickly that the hoses means that either, well, there are 3 different options for the hoses, so you'll be able to rule out probably at least 2 or 3 of those engines, which will either leave you 1 or 2 engines probably that you'll have to check next. The last note will have a chemical element on it. It will say, I can't remember the 3, but there's something like hydrogen or deutonium or whatever the last one is. You'll need to note which element that is, and then at the bottom of the stairs, I mentioned the whiteboard earlier, it will have those 3 elements, and then each of them will say equals and then a colour, either either blue, yellow or green. On that engine in the middle that you can see on the screen, you can see on the left it's got a little yellow cylinder. On all the engines that will either be blue, yellow or green to tie in with that element. And between, so obviously that will rule out again about 1/3 of the engines. Between the PSI ruling out 7 of them, and then the hoses and the coloured cylinder ruling out roughly 1/3 each. Between those 3 clues, if you get all 3 of them, you'll be able to cast iron guarantee state which engine it is. If you've only got 2, you'll have either a 50-50 or you might be lucky and you might still be able to guarantee which one it is. So I'll start it playing again now. So I'm still searching for notes, still trying to find the 3rd note. Sometimes it's downstairs, sometimes it's not. I now need to really get a move on because people are noticing. So I've decided to stop looking for the note now. I'm checking the engines. So of those 3, 1 was exactly 400, 2 were less than. That one's greater than. I've checked there are 2 hoses, which if you remember were needed. That one was 400 as well. And that one had the 3 hoses, so I can ignore that. This one's got 3 hoses, so I can ignore that as well. I checked the PSI anyway, but it's exactly equal to. This one's less than as well, so I can ignore that. That one's greater than, but again it's got 3 hoses, so I can ignore that one. That one's got 3 hoses, so I can ignore it. Engine 10 is obviously still missing. That one's got 3 hoses as well. So if you've been counting, you know there was only 1 engine that it could possibly be, which is this one, which is greater than and 2 hoses, sorry. I'm just double checking to make sure, but yes, that's the only one that it could possibly be. The other thing that you can do, I was slightly unfortunate in that as soon as I was coming, I only had maybe 10 seconds of server room door open time before a guard spotted it. Normally you can get away with a bit longer than that, which lets you check downstairs, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you can find the engine and get it out to the helicopter landing point before the helicopter lands. And then as soon as the helicopter lands, you can be chucking the engine in. Because there's about a 2-minute gap between when the helicopter lands, when the helicopter takes off and when they confirm that it's the correct engine or the incorrect engine and they have to send it back. If you're doing it correctly and you've put the right engine in, you've then got a 2-minute wait where you'll need to hold out against people, because as soon as the helicopter arrives, even if the alarm hadn't gone off, the alarm will go off. So you now need to try and take care of some enemies to try and help you survive for the next 2 minutes, which is quite difficult because I'm on my stealth build at the minute, and I'm only level 80 at the minute as well, so I'm not very killable because my normal stealth build is not intended at all for getting into firefights. Ideally, I'd say do this with 2 people. One person will take a stealth build and the other person will take a loud build, preferably a dodge build, so they can still move around quickly and this concealment isn't terrible like it would be if you just had an armor build. The stealth person will then go in and do what I've done. The loud person or the dodge build person will go check their video cameras, because you can buy an asset to put a camera feed outside, and if they're just spinning through the cameras marking everyone in the house, it makes the stealth person's job a lot easier. The other thing, if you've got a second person, as soon as the stealth person goes into the basement, the second person can go and light the flare, which means that the stealth person doesn't need to do doesn't need to leave the basement at all. And they can also, I was getting really unfortunate here because there were 2 medic dozers. I managed to kill one, but half my team's going down to the other one, and then eventually I go down because again my build is not ideal for this use. Even if you don't get the notes downstairs, you've still got enough time that you can search the whole of downstairs, and then you can go upstairs. I was incredibly lucky here. The 2 minutes expired just as all my teammates were going down. I was desperately trying to hide behind the plane to avoid getting wrecked, basically, and I ended up going down just as about half a second after the game had finished, so it still counted as a good success for me, which was incredibly lucky. But yeah, even if you don't get notes downstairs in the basement, what I'll normally do, I'll check the basement, make sure there are no notes, I'll check the PSI, and then I'll normally wait until about a minute after I've lit the flare. A minute after, I'll then drop ECMs, and both me and, if there's a second person with me, both me and the loud person will run into the house and search for notes. If you've got 2 ECMs, you've got about a minute where you can kill everyone and they can't call for help and their pages won't count, or their pages won't trigger, sorry, while the ECMs are running. And that minute should be plenty enough time for either 1 or 2 people to run over the house and find the notes. As soon as at least 1 note's found, you should be able to run downstairs and start searching for engines. As I mentioned before, due to the PSI, you'll be able to rule out 7 engines immediately, so you'll only have 5 engines to check. So once you've found 1 or 2 notes, you'll be able to quickly run downstairs and work out which engine's the right one out of those 5. And then hopefully you can still get it to the helicopter landing pad before the helicopter arrives, because ideally you need to get there as soon as possible so that as soon as the helicopter lands, you're throwing the engine into it. But yeah, that was my walkthrough for Big Oil. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.